Like when you're in school and you have a project coming up, what do? You collect all your books and online resources to make sure that your grade reflects the amount of work you put in, right? In hopes of maybe getting an A+ or something ideal like that. Whether it's with school or not, we all do it. We prep ourselves for certain situations in life to make sure the outcome is beneficial to us. It's like when you're pregnant, you start by taking prenatal vitamins to help nourish you and your baby, so that neither one of you suffers during pregnancy. Or how you lather up an SPF before stepping outside on a hot summer day to not risk getting skin cancer. Or how you take emergency at the onset of becoming sick to prevent it from happening. Or when you want to become healthy and strong, you start by exercising more. We all have these preventative measures, all these, in a sense, defense mechanisms in place for when and if something bad happens that can take the what if out of our minds. And these are all great things that help us in our time of need for that specific situation. But where are we spiritually? Are we spiritually prepared for the things that happen in life that we have no idea how to handle? I was not, and this is how my story begins. If you were to ask me how my life was before I asked God to be my Savior, I would say amazing. I have the best parents who raised, in my eyes, an amazing kid who grew up to be an amazing young woman, and if that sentence alone doesn't give you an idea of where I was before God and where my focus was, then just wait. You'd think I'd have God in my life as I grew up in the church, going to Sunday school, going to Camp Mandeville, going to Screw-in Lake, and depending on what age I was at the time, I was either at the ranch or the island for Bible camp. I did all of that, the whole shebang, yet I really didn't have God in my life. I was just kind of going through the motions of any church-related activities because I had placed my priorities elsewhere. My priorities were placed on none other than myself. And in Hebrews 12, verse 2, it says to fix our eyes on Jesus, which was not the case for me. Listening to someone else or relying on someone else to, in a sense, guide me besides my parents was just unheard of for me. And to make matters worse, I saw that being so stubborn about my own goals and my own aspirations in life and how I was going to achieve them was a great thing. In a weird way, it made me feel strong, capable, resilient, and tough, as if nothing was impossible and everything was possible. As long as I put the hard work in, everything else would fall into place. In my eyes, I lived my life for me and only me. I made sure that every opportunity that was presented that had something to do with my education and career, I would take it. I was climbing the ladder of success, you could say, and there was always one more thing to achieve. My whole life, I identified with achievements and winning something. And if for some reason one or both of those things weren't happening, I'd probably be a mess. So because my mind worked that way, I did 4 years at Plattsburgh, worked in the gym 24/7, and took every fitness certification I could. Right after that, I did 2 years at Portland while holding 2 different graduate assistantships, as well as competing in bodybuilding competitions. And it's funny because that took me less than 30 seconds to say, and yet 6 years to complete out of my life. Personally, I felt like I was setting myself up for a complete success after graduation. Because what recruiter doesn't want a student with a master's degree versus just a bachelor's degree, right? What school doesn't want someone who has done so much and achieved what I thought was a lot during their university years? Like, how could I fail? How could I not get this big-time fitness instructor's position down in North Carolina at Chapel Hill? Yes, that was my dream job, and not getting it meant the past 6 years of schooling was a wash. But that wasn't going to happen to me. Because I was strong, and in my own strength and in my own willpower, I would get it done, and you would see that after I graduated, I would have the title Miss Alanna Darling, Fitness Director. I had so much faith in myself that I could do this and get what I wanted in life, and the thought of not getting it wasn't even in my mind. Now, at this time, I was approaching my second spring semester, and for master's students, you start applying for jobs, sending in your application, your resume, setting up interviews, and naturally, the only thing left to do is land that job. In my mind, I felt like the more impressive I made my resume with my education, degrees, internships, jobs, winning competitions, there was absolutely no way I could fail. Well, when that's your primary source of identification, happiness, your sense of worth, and your blanket of security, what happens when life challenges you and throws you a curveball unexpectedly? My moment of defeat was during the spring semester. I was really just pulled together. I was so paralyzed by fear for the first time in my life that I didn't even apply to one single job. Not one application was sent out, and it was just not what's supposed to happen when you graduate. So I started asking myself, how did this happen to me and why? Why did this happen and why did I choke? Why did I fall short? Why was the faith I had in myself not good enough? And that's when this unprecedented amount of stress kicked in. When the stress started to mount up, I for the first time ever began to feel extremely fearful, confused, unsure, and uncertain of what my future would hold. To be honest, I was so worried and ashamed because I had no idea how to handle it, nor how to talk to anyone. To me, mentioning that to anyone showed that I was weak, that I was inferior, that I couldn't do what I set out to do, and that I didn't have it all together. And I just couldn't let my untainted image be destroyed. How could I go from being so hopeful, so optimistic, and so excited about my future and the life I had envisioned to a complete loss at what to do? But in Colossians 2:9, it says that we are complete in Christ. And in Psalms 23, it says that God comforts us and gives us rest. This would have been helpful to know, thank you, that I could have leaned on him in that desperate time of need. Yet again, I didn't. How do you tell your parents you feel like you failed? Failed them and don't know what the next step is or how to get there. But in Matthew 6:28, it says, to not worry about tomorrow, God knows our needs. That I can do everything through Christ who strengthens me. As Philippians 4:13 says. Knowing these two verses during that time would have reduced the level of uncertainty in my heart if I would have placed my worries and concerns onto someone bigger than myself. But again, I didn't do that. I placed all the burden on myself instead. I let myself down and couldn't get out of this rut I put myself in. I was so embarrassed to ask for help because I had done things on my own terms and what I thought was my own strength for so long that how could I at 25 years old start asking for help? Would it have helped to read Psalms 94 verse 18 that God will support us and console us? Sure would have, but I didn't. And at this time, I was kind of just going through the motions until wishfully thinking that some kick of motivation or jumpstart would occur. But in 1 Corinthians 10:13, it states that God will provide a way, and I wish I would have seen it like that. Because it gets challenging and tiring when you look for that external source of happiness and security, like I did by checking off my bucket list of achievements. You're looking for something that's fleeting, something that's not long-lasting, something that for a quick burst of energy or excitement will only lead to another rut. At this point, I was kind of getting used to it. I was happy but not excelling in life. But in Proverbs 3:5, it tells us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And I wish I would have known that. I was in a season of waiting and I do not mix well. We're like oil and water. I had my own plans, my own way of achieving them, and when they didn't happen on my time, things started to go south. Instead of going south and throwing myself a pity party, I could have looked at James 1:2 and known to consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance. Yet at this time, I had no faith. I believed in God, but never actually had God in my life. And if I would have had God in my life, I would have known that God's time is different than our time, as it says in Psalms 90, verse 4. And knowing this would have emotionally helped me stay strong in a time that was very challenging for me. If I would have went to the Bible and read about overcoming obstacles, I would have stumbled upon Ecclesiastes 3:1 about there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And I would have begun to realize that all these challenges I was facing, feeling fearful, having doubt, being worried and anxious, trusting in myself, being self-centered, were all sins. At this point, I didn't see it as a sin. I just felt like it was a season of my life that I just had to go through and wait it out. And the funny thing is, I knew I wasn't the only one dealing with this or feeling this way, but I didn't understand how people push through that season. And sometimes you don't know how mixed up your priorities are until you meet someone. And not just anyone, but someone who has God at the center of their life, and that was the case for me. I'm a firm believer that people come into our lives just as they're meant to, just when God plans them to show us something, teach us something, to help us, and to grow us. It's up to us whether or not we take that as it is and become a better person from it. I truly believe God sent Devin to me, not just to be my soon-to-be husband, but to be a light for God so I could see what I was missing in my life. And not only did I meet the love of my life, but God was making his way back into mine by working through Devin. And it took a while, because I was stubborn and selfish, and I didn't want to change. I chose not to change, and that brought consequences in my life. Just like it says in Deuteronomy 30, verse 15, "See, I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction." And although that might seem a bit dramatic, we do have a choice, and it leads down one road or the other. So at this point, I started to surround myself with others who put God first and put God at the center of their life. I started to see how life was handled differently. When stressful events came up, hard times came around, and upsets in life happened, I saw how God worked through people to make it okay. I saw how God made things better and made life more enjoyable no matter what you faced. And even though I started to see all these amazing things that God was doing, I was stubborn to let go. I was hesitant on changing because in my mind I was Miss Independent and I wanted to run my life my way. and I didn't want anyone else to do it for me. Like, how could somebody else know what's best for me? As this vicious cycle continued, I could feel a bigger hole, a bigger gap, and a massive void in my life. It was as if God knew I needed him, but I just couldn't give in. Because giving in and letting go meant that I didn't know everything, I didn't know what was best for me, and the way I've been running my life for the past 25 years was wrong, and I just didn't want to accept that. What does being stubborn and not wanting to change bring you? It brings you nowhere. And for months, I went back and forth thinking, should I ask God to be my Savior or not? I'm already 25 years old. I really should have figured this out by now. My boyfriend asked God to be his Savior when he was 11. Why didn't I then? If I ask God to be my Savior, does that mean I'm admitting that I failed? Does it mean that I have to change everything about my life? I was literally stuck with confusion. And being around a family like the Mills that had God at the center of their life and their focus only made things worse. It was like a constant reminder of what I needed, yet I didn't do anything for months. So at this point, I was so fed up with feeling empty and lack of movement anywhere that I started listening to podcasts. They're about fitness and faith. I felt like this was my way in, as if you need a secret way to have a relationship with God. You don't. But I wanted to know how my passion in life was relatable to God, and how other women who are fitness-driven had God in their life, and why. And then maybe I could finally do something about it. But for me, just to make life more challenging than it already was at the moment, I decided for me to really see that I needed God in my life, it needed to be something big. I felt like I missed so much of my life without him, that in order for me to give my life to God, he had to show me something. Talk about being in control and doing things my way. And again, because I wanted things a certain way, like it was my way or the highway type of deal, I sat and I waited and became more stubborn and more bitter on the inside. This void got bigger and bigger as I knew I needed him, yet couldn't do what I knew was right. And then this amazing moment happened. I'm listening to a faith and fitness podcast by Kim Dolan-Leto, and if you don't know her, please look her up. She's amazing. And it's about 10 minutes into the show, and she's talking about her father and how he had suffered a stroke at 47 years old. She was in her 30s at the time. She hated her job, and she had a really rough childhood. And during that hard time, she found a way to break through and overcome not only that current hardship, but the past ones that lived within her. She said, have you guys ever had a moment where you just need to draw the line in the sand, put the past behind you, and walk forward with purpose? I kid you not, at this moment, I'm working out in the gym on the treadmill, and my hands are already on the handles of the treadmill. I get shocked, and I see a bright light flash in the gym all around me. I got goosebumps everywhere as I put my feet on the side of the treadmill to stop walking, and I started tearing up like I'm doing right now. And I knew that this was it. This was my time. I needed to let go of it all. I needed to let go of the sins that had been floating in my heart and in my mind about fear, doubt, selfishness, being worried and trusting only in myself, that I got to do everything my way, and I'm the only one that knows what's best for me, and ask God to come into my life. In Colossians 3:5, it says to put off the old self and put the new self on. And this is exactly what happened next. I asked God right then and there to be my Savior, because I knew there was no sin in my life worth going to hell over. I prayed for the first time in a long time, Lord, my heart is in a wobbly place, teetering between fear and faith. Please fill my soul with courage to trust your ways and your timing. The past doesn't define my future, you do. You are the only one who knows the plans for me, plans to prosper me and not to harm me, plans to give me a future and a hope, and to always remember you are good, that you are loving, that you are able and willing to heal and restore and redeem and remake. Amen. And that moment changed my life in ways that you can't imagine. I saw that when your perspective was shifted to be on him, and that when you live your life to be a blessing for him and not yourself, how much life positively changes. In 1 Peter 2:11, it states to live in a way that glorifies God. And that's how I started to live my life differently. I saw that it doesn't matter how I see myself or how others see me. It's how he sees me. And that's all I need to care about. Just like it says in James 1:27, it says to not be polluted by the world, because we are created in God's image, as Genesis 1:26 says. I saw that when I let go of trying to run my life the way I thought I needed to, the way I thought being Miss Independent needed to run her life, doors opened up, stress was reduced, hopelessness faded away, and the fear of failure was no longer in my mind. In 2 Thessalonians 2:16, it states that God gives eternal encouragement and hope, which was really nice to know, because To be honest with you, I still don't have that big time fancy job I've always wanted. I'm not living in North Carolina where I always wanted to live, running a fitness facility and doing big things. The plans I once had for my life did not come to fruition. But you know what? God has bigger and better plans for me. Like sticking around home a little bit longer to meet a man of God that I'm going to be marrying in 5 months, and loving what I do and working with women to empower them through fitness and through faith. I began to look to God for my happiness and my sense of purpose and my blanket of security in my life, which meant I always had it, because it was never fleeting or a here and there type of feeling. Because I began to read the Bible and study the Bible, and I found out that God never leaves us, as it says in Deuteronomy 31:6. And do you know why I look to God now? Because I came to a point in my life where I asked myself this very important question that I'm going to ask you right here, right now, that changed the direction of my life. Is there any sin in your life worth going to hell over? My answer was no, and at that moment, there was nothing else holding me back from getting right before God. There are some ladies out here that already have gone through this phase in your life. You've gone through what it feels like to be in limbo and not sure what your future may hold, whether that's personal, professional, with a job, marriage, or anything else. And then there's some of you ladies in here tonight who are younger than me, that may have yet to experience this or maybe never will, but are now more aware of how things can unfold, whether you have God in your life during those tough times or not. And then there's some of you women in here that are close in age, who are currently going through your own waiting season of hardships and are filled with worry, fear, anxiousness, and an untrusting heart. My hope for you is that you prepare yourself spiritually and let Him take control of all things by trusting fully in Him. And we do this by asking God to be our Savior. We can bow our heads and pray. Dear Lord, thank you for taking control over my testimony here tonight. Thank you for giving me the faith and the wisdom to speak about how amazing you are and how much you have positively changed my life for the better. Thank you for washing away my sins and giving me a life with a newfound purpose that adores you and finds pure joy in pleasing you. I pray to you tonight to make your way into any and all women looking and seeking you. I pray that you give them the faith, the courage, the perseverance, the hope, and the excitement that you have placed within my heart. In Jesus' name, amen.